Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cash Rules podcast. My name is Keith Smith, and I'm here with my co-host,
Fabyan Roldan. What's up, people?
He's the head of research. He's an educational program development specialist, and we are here with our special guest. We have Kimberly Johnson with us. I want to start off just by making sure that we are all aware that none of what we are discussing today should be taken as legal, financial, and/or tax advice. Instead, the objective of our conversation today is really to highlight some of the unspoken realities in the educational system, discuss why some of these realities go unspoken, and what we can be doing on a practical level to really change that reality in an informational, educational capacity. With that said, Fabyan, how are you doing today?
I feel like money. Oh, how you feeling, Keith?
I'm absolutely incredible. And I'm actually most curious on how you're doing, Kimberly. Thanks for being here.
Well. Thank you so much. I'm doing well, having a good day. Glad to be here with both of you.
Love it.
Yes, it's going to be a pleasure.
Yeah, I want to dive straight in. I think today we're talking more about some of the educational side of things. And Kimberly, you have an extensive background. So let's just start there. Please tell us a little bit about where you're based and some of your history and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis right now.
Absolutely. So my history is that I've worked for 23 years in education, specifically in higher education as well as nonprofit. Currently, I am working as a director of admissions at Teeth Fellowship, which is a free 10-year program, an enrichment program for students who are looking to get a better chance in the educational world.
Tell us a little bit about the names. Go ahead and name drop for us, like some of the schools that you worked at.
Sure. So I worked at SUNY Purchase College. I worked at NYU Stern School of Business. I also worked at Metropolitan College of New York, and I was an admissions counselor at Pace University as well.
Amazing. Thank you for that background. So in college admissions, one of the things that Fabyan and I have kind of just talked about in the past, like we want to make sure that students or young people have the right sort of framework to think about whether or not one should go to college. Tell us a little bit about how you look at, Fabyan, you were just bringing up like the differences between going to trade school or, going into college for whatever particular field they may want to pursue. How do potential students look at that?
So first and foremost, they need to decide what they want to do. But if they're not sure what they want to do, it is okay to go to school as an undeclared major. Don't think that you can't go to school as an undeclared major, but you also should be trying from ninth grade to make sure that you have the best grades possible, because no matter what you decide you want to go to school for, it would be super helpful if you had the best grades so that you can possibly get scholarships. And also, you also have to decide whether or not you want to pursue a school that is in-state, out-of-state. Do you want to be in the city? Do you not want to be in the city? So there's a lot of different factors that you should think of when you're applying to college. It's not just one thing.
I like that. And then to follow up, you've had a large role in looking at how the finances of a student may look like going into the school and even during their times in a university. Talk to us about how students can look at their financial situation going into a university or applying to universities and things like that.
So first and foremost, they need to see if the grades that they have will help them get a scholarship. They should also see whether or not they or their parents or guardians will be eligible for any student loans. First and foremost, try to see whether or not you can get into a school based on your academics. Don't immediately think, I have to take out student loans. You can get a lot of merit-based scholarships, which are the ones that you can get based on your grades if you do well enough in school. So always think about merit-based scholarships first, meaning have the best grades possible, and then that will make it easier for you when you actually apply to a college. Try to get those scholarships. The free money is what you want to be looking at, and scholarships and grants are really considered your free money.
Got it. And then talk to us a little bit about once I'm on campus, how do I go about trying to find income? Because one of the, obviously the old sort of things is that you go to school, you're a poor college kid, and you can't do anything besides eat ramen noodles, and that's it.
Yeah, right.
Talk
So
to us about how that works.
absolutely. So first and foremost, you should try to see whether or not you're eligible for federal work study. If you are eligible for federal work study, you usually will get an email from the financial aid office letting you know that. If you are eligible for that, you can get a job on campus. Usually the federal hourly rate is $15 an hour, and you can work a maximum of 20 hours a week. So if you can, try to get those jobs, because you never have to worry about transportation, because those jobs are always on campus. Every single office on campus is always looking to hire a student, and always remember that there's always a student that's graduating. So you're always going to have time to work on campus. Also, there's some jobs that are not federal work study, and sometimes you just have to go to the different offices on campus and see if they're hiring. Their hourly rate might be a little bit higher than the work study rate of $15 an hour, but it doesn't hurt to go to other offices to see if they are offering jobs too. So start with on-campus jobs, whether it's a work study job or whether it's a job in one of the other offices.
You said $15 an hour.
Correct.
Is that in
That's just for
New
New
York?
York, and that's New York.
That I believe that actually is federal. That it depends on whether or not it's a federal work study job.
Gotcha.
But again, as you mentioned, everyone can check in their own state. But I know for New York, it is $15 an hour with a maximum of 20 hours a week that a student can work, because they don't want you to do anything more than 20, because the other part of your job is to be a student. So they never let you work more than 20 hours a week.
Talk to us a little bit about how, maybe if you can, if you think it's the right, if not, it's okay if you don't feel like you're qualified to answer it, but like, what are some of the incentive schemes potentially around that dynamic? How do you look at, okay, you're supposed to be going to school, right? What is that doing for the state or for the government? Why would they offer these kinds of programs? Why do they do it?
That I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer that. Not 100% sure. We know that sometimes there could be reasons why the government does many of the things that they do. So that I'm not 100% sure about.
And I just want to tell everybody that the federal work study minimum wage is actually $15. It goes up to $23.50 depending on where you are.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Here in Florida, I believe the minimum wage is around like $8.50. So that's like a big difference. So to move forward, we brought up before this, I think, Fabyan, you talked about this EOP. Do you want to introduce that concept?
Yeah, I wanted to hear, Kimberly, what is your idea of EOP? And what I mean by EOP is the Education Opportunity Program, which provides youth, underserved service youth or under-resourced youth with the opportunity to go into college, be it financially and other aspects. Can we talk about a little more about programs like the EOP program that many might not know about?
Absolutely. So the EOP program, it actually has several different layers. So you can either be an EOP student or you can be an HEOP student. The EOP student is usually a student who is in a state university. And then HEOP is usually that you are in a private university. So for instance, if you say HEOP, that means higher education opportunity program. And then you can do that at a private college, or you can do it at a SUNY or also at a CUNY college. They do also have SEEK, which is what they have at CUNYs. And then they also have several other programs, and all of them are based on your income as well as your family size. The main thing to keep in mind is that every single school has a different grade requirement for EOP. So you have some SUNY schools that they want a 90 average for a student who's trying to come in for EOP, but then you may have another SUNY school that says a 75 will be make you academically eligible. So with EOP, you have to be academically as well as financially eligible. So it's whatever grades you have along with your parents' income and your household size. All of those things are factored in, and then you also have to do an interview for some schools as well. So you have to look at each individual school to know which one you may or may not qualify for.
I wanted to ask, go ahead, please.
I want to tap in on something before, because like for me, it's really being illuminated how important it is when you're in high school to really be paying attention to these processes and what's happening. Because when I was in high school, I was not motivated basically by any of this kind of a thing. And because of that, I think I didn't have anywhere near as many opportunities as I could have. And it's just interesting to think about, like, really the effort that you're putting in can actually have a big difference on your financial future. And we'll get more into that. So I'll step back for a second. Go ahead, Fabyan.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right on point. I think my question kind of sits on what you're kind of getting at, Keith, is why is there an EOP program? Why are these programs even there? And I wanted to ask, talk a little more about the importance of these programs to you, Kimberly, and why you think that.
Absolutely. So the EOP programs are there because there were a lot of people that were not getting the services that they needed and not getting the opportunities that they needed. If their parents did not have enough money to send them away to college, so they had to start having this funding. And most of this funding started in the 1960s with the civil rights movement, was when they started to do programs like EOP, because Black and Brown people were not getting the opportunities that they needed to get. I always tell students, even though you don't think that you have all of the opportunities that you have approximately $1,000 to $1,500 computer on your hip, and it is called your iPhone or your Android. So with that being, you always have time, because you have time to be on TikTok. You have time to look into all of the things. And nowadays, all of these schools have apps. So there's no reason why you can't look into how can I get money for this, or how can I do this? I also wanted to just touch on one thing that Keith mentioned about not really knowing certain things because that wasn't taught to him when he was in school. I completely agree with that. If you do not have a guidance counselor that's really going to tell you what you need to do, it does make it increasingly difficult to find any of these resources. So that is why I tell people all the time, if you know somebody who went to college, ask them about their experience, because every person is going to tell you something different, but all of them will lead you to how you're going to figure out how you will go to college.
And I wanted to kind of get into that in terms of not only just the mentors, but what are the fears around college that you currently hear and see on an everyday basis as you're dealing with students at this age?
Absolutely. So the biggest fear is not knowing whether they should stay at home or whether they should go away. Another fear is not wanting to disappoint their parents, because many of them, with all the things that we've gone through with COVID, their parents may not want them to go away, but they may actually want to. And in addition to that, their biggest fear is not being able to pay for college with all the things that have gone on with student loan forgiveness. Many young people are so fearful when they hear the word student loans and they hear FAFSA. It's like they have heart palpitations. It scares them. So those are the three that I would say are the ones that are glaring when I'm working with a population of students that I've most recently worked with.
Wow, that's crazy. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. And then, so you also have already brought up technology, which I think is super important. Talk to us about how you see technology over time changing the process around college admissions and preparation.
Absolutely. There was a time that you weren't able to do a college admissions application or a FAFSA application on the go. We now all have the ability to apply to certain colleges as well as to do your FAFSA literally from your cell phone. That was not something that any of us had years ago. And you also can use certain apps to find out about scholarship opportunities. So now that everyone is on the go and a lot of people are still living a hybrid life because we're still, in a time when there is still the pandemic, a lot of people now are relying on technology, and more colleges are also using social media. So they're using TikTok, Instagram. They very much are moving away from Facebook because they know that that is not what the students nowadays use, but they are making sure that they are finding a way to connect with the students, and more schools are using apps to connect with students, especially in regards to admissions.
That's super interesting. And I want to make sure we get as many resources as we can on that process too. So do you have specific apps right now, or maybe we'll get them afterward? Either way, I want to make sure we get it captured.
Sure. So two of them that I know that I always use with students when I'm telling them specifically about finding out about scholarships is one website that is called FastWeb. So it's FASTWEB.com. And then the other one is called MyScholly. So it's MyScholly.com. And actually, Scolly is sort of like a spin on saying the word scholarship. They just knew that scholarship was too long of a word. So they have an app as well. And a lot of students utilize those two websites/apps to find out about scholarships. People don't realize that there are scholarships for everything. There's a scholarship if you are a twin, a triplet, if you're a Black female, if you're a Native American. There is an app and there is a scholarship for everything. So I always tell students, go onto those web pages, look and see what you can find. I even tell students, do you go to Wendy's? Wendy's has a scholarship. They think that it's only school-based, but there are scholarships for everything. You just have to make sure you stay on top of those websites and make sure you're watching those deadline dates.
Nice. I think I want to move on just a little bit to thinking about home life and like parents and like what they can be doing as well if they want to get involved in the process of helping their kids get into school, or how important also do you see it for parents to be involved if kids maybe aren't as motivated or don't feel like they have the confidence even to do what they need to do?
Mm-hmm. So I usually tell parents, do your own research outside of what your child is doing. Oftentimes young people will get caught up on the name of a school and think that they need to go to that school because of the name, an NYU, a PACE, a Columbia University, and it may not be the best fit for them. So I always tell them, if you know that your child has a certain thing that they want to do long-term, do your own research, call the admissions office yourself, find out the answers to your questions. And then when your child comes to you and they say, I want to go to these schools, still encourage them, still go with them to the visits, still do a virtual information session with them, whatever you can do, but also make sure that you're doing your research behind the scenes, and make sure that you're not making a decision based on what you wanted to do. Really try to speak to your child and find out what they want to do. A lot of times adults will have barriers for students because something did not work for them. But the hard part of that is that they have to remember that the student has to do what they want to do.
I wanted to ask about that a little bit, because I think that sometimes we don't realize how much a child's parent, I hate to say get in the way, but I guess that's the perfect way of saying it. Sometimes the ideology or the mental of the parent stops a child to see the importance of college, right? Mm-hmm. And what do you say to those students who sit there and they're battling between somebody at home telling them to get a job, help out with the bills, and when they go to school and they're being told, you have a bright future, go to college because everything's upon your horizon, everything's at your grasp as long as it's there. What do you say to that?
I usually tell them that even if they want a child to just get a job, usually you need to have at least an associate's degree to get the real job that you want to get, or at least move up at that job. So I recently had someone that said they wanted their child to be a police officer. And I said, okay, admirable job. It's fine if you want to be a police officer, but also you may want them to go to John Jay College of Criminal Justice and just get your associate's degree, because there's certain things that if you at least have that associate's under your belt, then it will make it a little easier for the child in terms of finances. If they decide they don't want to move forward with beyond the associate's degree, that's fine. But at least if you have the associate's degree as a base, then they can make the decision later on when they are working at said job, if they want to move forward and then go forward to get further education and further degrees.
So I want to touch on this because you said something that's super, it just resonated with me and is super impactful and powerful. I'm currently towards the latter years of my own higher educational experience. And I've had a lot of bouts, a lot of battles around like, oh, is this the right thing for me? Should I be doing this? Why am I doing this kind of a thing? But what you really just said that hit for me was, okay, you can go out and get a job and you can work, but what may happen is you may hit a wall, right? Where you can't go past, right, a certain level because of the fact that you don't even have a degree. No matter how talented you are, no matter how skilled you are, if you don't have that backing, there's just you're just never even going to be considered for certain levels. And that's across, unfortunately, just about any field, right? So I think that was super powerful for me to think about how that is a reality of how, you know, the job market works.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, you hit a good point there, Keith. I mean, honestly, I don't think people see that sometimes, right? And we've been doing this for quite some time now. We have a number of episodes, and honestly, every guest we've had come on here is tell us in the field of technology, there are so much happening in technology that it's quite difficult to go to school for tech, when by the time you're finished, that year, let's say iOS 16, that by the time you're done with college, we on iOS 102 or something like that. You understand? So it's already redeveloped. It's already has a new face, a new character. What do you say to people who sit there in terms of are sitting there when you have one side is like, hey, listen, you might not need it always, as you stated before, right? But it's that eagerness, it's that mentality of that individual to sit there and go, I'm looking at the money, and the money is calling me towards these trades and this, all this stuff. And it's so great that you said that if you want to move up, right?
Right.
And I'm only saying this to go on to the next topic, which is entrepreneurship, right? And how this plays in a part of an entrepreneur. Because sometimes as an entrepreneur, you might not need education, you might just need the experience and etc. Sometimes it's good to have it. What do you say to those who want to be entrepreneurs in terms of college? Like, what are some of the things an entrepreneur can see college as being a great addition to what they're doing?
So I think I just want to make sure that I understand the question correctly. Are you saying when someone is in college, what things should they be doing so that then they can further themselves?
Well, more of the situation of, as an entrepreneur, why should I, as a young entrepreneur, see the importance of college rather than continuing on with my business?
Got it. So the reason why you need to further your education, even if it's not that you go on to get a full degree, but even if you just do continuing education courses, even if you just take a class on QuickBooks so that you know how to budget your money for your business, you have to do something, because you can't always depend on someone else doing it for you, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Because when you're an entrepreneur, initially, it's just you who is the CEO, the record keeper, the secretary, the person who is doing inventory. You are everything when you're the entrepreneur. So with that being said, it doesn't have to be that you go on to get a full degree, but every little continuing education class or workshops that you find, that's going to help you in your business. One of the things that I'm looking to do is to go on to become an IEC, which stands for an independent educational consultant, because I want to be able to work and help people figure out what colleges they're going to. So I'm actually going to be going back to school for that next year. So even with all of my years, I still know that I still need to keep educating myself, because that's the only way that I'm going to make myself more marketable for my future business that I hope to have.
I love that.
Absolutely love what you said there, Kimberly, because when we talk about education, I think it's so easy to get wrapped up also in just this idea of college as being, oh, this is the only sort of education that there is in the world.
Mhm.
And so, like, the big realization for me over the past couple of years is like, okay, well, if I don't have a degree yet, then I'm going to need to equip myself with some sort of a certification or some sort of credentials that are going to push me forward in my career. And so pursuing certain types of professional certifications where maybe you can go online and buy a book to be able to take a course and then pass,
Right.
or whatever it may be. Maybe there's an online course that at the end of it, you get a certification from some accredited institution. You can go online to like edx.org.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's still Linda. LinkedIn bought their own sort of like educational platform a few years ago.
There's Coursera.
Coursera,
Mhm.
and being able to like go in there and actually maybe get a Harvard level certification. Like when you put that on your name, on your resume or on your LinkedIn, it actually makes such a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
want to touch on that. I think it's super important to think about education outside of just college
Mhm.
because it's super expensive. And in reality, maybe the ROI that you want really comes from looking outside of these institutionalized accredited universities as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mhm.
I actually wanted to piggyback on that. That makes so much sense there that you said that, Keith, and I'm happy that you agreed so much, Kimberly. What do you see? Because there's so much a shift going on in colleges right now, in universities, to the online structure, right? And I've seen a lot of courses, a lot of certificates being offered now on college, at colleges and universities.
Mhm.
What is your feeling around the possible shift from more in-person learning to now the cyber, or I should say, virtual learning process?
Mhm. So I think that it is different. The experience is different for everyone, but you also have to be open to doing either one or having your learning experience be a hybrid one at this point in our society, because some things that you want to do may be virtual. Some things that you do may actually be in person. I think you have to have both, because whether it's that you're doing a podcast like this one today, or whether it's that you're a third grade teacher, there's a possibility that at least at one point during your week, whether it's a meeting, whether it's something that's business related, you're going to have to do something virtual. So I think everyone needs to be more open to doing either one. It does not make your education any less if you do it virtually. It's more about the school that you're trying to go to. So if you make sure that you are going to a stellar university, in-person learning versus virtual, that really becomes a personal decision. But I think in 2022, almost 2023, you need to be open to doing both, because I think we can all agree we're never going back to 5 days in an office or 5 days in a school. So you need to learn how to accommodate your life so that you can do either one.
I like it.
I love that. That was awesome. That was awesome. What, I guess my next question for me, my last question for me before I pass it on to Keith, definitely, is motivation. There, motivate not only youth, teenage, grown adults. We're talking, because when we talk about college, I always try to tell any high school student that when you sit there in the college, sometimes depending where you are, you got people your age from 18, 17 maybe, to all the way to 90 years old, right? How do you motivate?
I lost you.
How do you motivate them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we
I'm
can
still
hear
there?
you. Mhm.
I'm sorry. So I was going to ask, what do you see, how do you motivate such different age groups? to go to college? What is your saying to, what's some of the things that they're not understanding?
So the main thing that I feel like a lot of them don't understand is that a lot of the jobs that they want to do and a lot of the visions that they have for themselves, they don't realize that you have to have some level of education, even if you don't have a full-on degree. I think sometimes with having so much access to television, reality TV, all the things, everyone starts to think that if I do just this much, then tomorrow I'm going to make $50,000 in a day. It's not realistic. Sometimes you need to have some schooling in order to be able to move forward. So in terms of your question, the best way to motivate a student is to let them know that they need to do the research about what it is that they ultimately want to do. If they think that they can just do something and not have any education at all, that's not true. It may actually be that they need to have some education in their back pocket. And I also just let them know this is just for a season. It's not that you have to be in school your whole life. You only need to do this for a small amount of time. And then if you want to, you can stop.
I want to touch on that really quickly too, because for me, like at the beginning, I was like, all right, this is 4 years. Like that's a long time to be in school too. And I also took a break in between and just now, which is like, I'm like a 5.5 year finishing up my undergraduate degree. And when my friends were graduating, right, the people that I came in with, that time had flown by. And even today, like the reality of, and it's just something that I guess you really just kind of have to experience. But like for my future, right, like I always thought that I was old. So when I came into high school, I'm like, all right, college, I'm old. I'm 18 already. I don't have this, that, whatever going on. And now I'm like, all right, wow, I'm 23. I'm still pretty young. And if I didn't go back right now and start finishing in 5 years, right, that real start of time starts passing by and you're like, all right, well, that was time that I really could have spent. I wasn't doing too much anyways, right? Or maybe I could have been just doing something like this, which just gives you so much more credibility moving forward. And I hate saying that. I don't like it. I know it's just part of the way that the world sort of works. And especially for our people, right, or people that are coming from a disadvantaged situation, or even just dealing with discrimination or things like that in the workplace, like you really do have to equip yourself with that. Hey, actually, I'm right here. I'm here. I've done that. That was, just a part of the path, right? Unfortunately, for some, it's just what it is. But yeah, I just want to hit on that.
Absolutely. I agree.
No, I think you're on point with that one, man. I mean, everybody has their learning curves and learning stages. And sometimes you might need to breathe to reassess. So you are just like myself, Keith. I've done the same thing for many years. And I know there are plenty of people who've done the same thing and told me that, I know one person, they told me it took them 25 years to get their master's degree.
Yeah.
25 years. And
I'm someone that it took me 13. It was 13 years in between undergrad and grad. Yeah.
And sometimes you have follow up. I want to follow up because like I am that entrepreneur, right? Like I did all of this stuff in high school. I had these e-commerce businesses. I was doing affiliate marketing. Like I was learning about how the world was changing in a very serious way on my own. But what happened that made me go back and finish my degree this semester was I had an opportunity to do something with a local government organization on my own as a consultant. And what the head honcho came back and said was that since this kid does not have a degree, I will not hire him for this because he didn't want to put his credibility on the line.
Right.
For if anything would have potentially ever go wrong because I didn't have a degree. And so thinking about the counterparty risk too, right? Like if somebody wants to come in and vouch for you, Like this is a way to actually equip yourself with that ability for him to feel confident in doing it, so that when somebody's coming down his neck about whatever decision he made, right, or she made, it's not an issue. So just wanted to put that out. That's the only reason I went back.
Yeah. I also wanted to share one thing too, is that, you know, I always tell people it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, because I originally wanted to be an attorney. That was all I wanted to be. But in the college that I was in, I didn't get the grade point average that I was supposed to get to go to law school. So then I started temping, and I started temping in higher education. And I've now been in higher ed and nonprofit for a total of 23 years. So I didn't have, you know, I have a degree in legal studies with a minor in psychology as my undergrad, but my graduate degree is in school counseling. So even though I went all these different ways, I wanted to do stuff with school counseling and with young people. And the only way that anybody was going to take me seriously in college admissions or anything in education was for me to get the piece of paper. And it was 13 years from when I went to undergrad until I went to grad school and made that decision. So sometimes they also want to do it because they want to see if you're going to stay in college. It's not always about what the degree is in. They want to see if you have what it takes to actually keep pushing to get a degree. They just want the piece of paper. They don't always care about what is on it, with the exception of if you want to be a doctor, then it should say medicine on the degree. But other than that, you can really do anything with any degree.
And that's so interesting because it's a financial commitment that you have to also get through. And I think that sucks that it works that way. I really hate that. It shouldn't have to be like that, but I do understand that that's how it works. And it's important that we highlight it.
I mean, that's the whole point of cash rules, right? The whole point of cash rules is talk about financial literacy and understanding, right? And sometimes we talk about investing a lot, but sometimes you have to understand that investing in yourself is the biggest investment that can lead to many avenues. And what I mean by investing in yourself is not always to get a degree. It could be just picking up a newspaper every day or reading a book, right? There's this challenge I'm just now about to get involved in. It's called 1,000-page challenge a day. The plan is to read 1,000 pages, any book or multiple books in a day, just to gain knowledge. Yes, because the idea is to eliminate social media and everything out of your life and start getting back entwined in terms of the things that are really important. Because I live in the motto of do what you have to do so you could do what you want to do. And that's always been my motto for the past 15 to some odd years since working with kids. And I've learned that, you know, the biggest investment, you have to invest in yourself. Just like you said, Keith, you didn't realize until you noticed, hey, I got to go back to college. That's happened to me plenty of times. Now, I will say that there are those exclusions where you got people who are provided temporary or what is it, a subsequent degree, right? Where they'll base their experience on seeing that happen. But in our realities, it's not always there. That's a small percentage. That's like winning the lotto. And you know, my grandfather always told me, if you're going to keep on betting on lotto every day, you might as well just bet on getting hit by a lightning, because that's better. So because it's a more statistical chance, the probability is there. And I'm just saying that in terms of just investing, keep investing in oneself continuously. As we talk about financial literacy, this is just all great, because you cannot lead to any kind of financial wellness, which is the key goal. I mean, that's one of our guests actually said this. It's not financial literacy, it's financial wellness. Because once you're well financially, in terms of all measures, everything works out. And sometimes even the brain is part of that financial wellness.
Absolutely.
Well. Absolutely. So, and that said, Keith, how you feeling?
I think it's time.
It's time. That's that old school Vaderville. You know what I mean? Anybody know Vader time? I keep saying it. Wrap it around. How you doing, Keith?
I'm feeling good. Let's do this. So, Kimberly, at the end of our episodes, we do a rapid round where I'm going to ask you a few different questions. I just want to get the first thoughts that come to your mind. And don't think about it too hard. We do not judge.
Okay.
And we're happy to hear what you have to say.
Let's do it.
Cool. So first off, Tell me, Kimberly, what is money?
Stability.
Love it.
That's
And
the first
then-
thing that I think of is stability.
And I'm going to change up today because I think you already kind of did this in a good way, but I want to get your synopsis. What is education?
The means for you to be able to make the money that you want to make.
Ooh.
Love it. And then tell us, who inspires you the most, either dead or alive?
Alive, definitely my mother. Always told me to invest in myself. Is amazing with money. And then dead, I would have to say, oh my God, there was somebody that I literally just thought of. Can't think of dead right now. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, but definitely my mom, because she's amazing with money.
Heard. And then tell us, what is your favorite book that you've ever read?
Oh, the coldest winter ever by Sister Soldier. Love that book.
And what's that
Love
about?
that book.
And what's the worst one you said?
No, what is it about?
Oh my God, it's about this young Black girl who has a family that just has drama and crime and all the things. There's scandal, there's boyfriends, there's fathers that are just on the girl and not letting them do anything. It's total ghetto trash, and I completely love it.
Amazing.
It was awesome. It's amazing story. Amazing story.
Yeah.
And then tell us, if you have a podcast that you listen to, what is your favorite podcast?
Little bit scandalous, but let's do it. I absolutely love The Read. That is my favorite podcast. Again, you would never think it of me, but I absolutely love like anything having to do with like just a tiny bit raunchy and just a little bit crazy. So yeah, I absolutely love The Read. And then anything that has Kev on stage and That Chick Angel. Those are two of my favorite comedians. So those are the ones that I like to listen to. Podcasts are the one thing that I never listen to that is serious. I don't listen to any serious podcasts. I do so much serious during the day that I have to have something that's chill with some celebrity gossip and all the things.
Don't worry about it. We know you don't mean nothing by cash rules.
Well, now I have to watch it all the time because I'm on it. I'm just saying.
I love it.
Love it. And then tell us, where can people reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So if they want to get in touch with me on social media, my Instagram is Miss1775. So that's MISS1775. I don't know if you want me to give my email address too.
That's up to you.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm a little bit old school, so forgive the email address ahead of time. My email address is kimberly.ann.johnson@hotmail.com. Don't laugh at the Hotmail. Just go with it.
and
I knew it was
finally,
coming.
and
That's
listen,
hilarious.
and finally, we always give some time to our guests. You have 30 seconds or less. Kimberly, tell people what you got going on, what they can expect from you in the future. Thank you once again.
Absolutely. So what I have going on, like I said, is that I'm going to be going to school in January to become an IEC. My goal is that I want to be able to give kids within the 5 boroughs of New York City a free opportunity to actually find out more about college. So I have some things that I'm working on. Don't want to put it out there yet because, you know, business mind, don't want to give everybody my ideas. But yes, I'm going to be going to school to be an IEC. So I want to be a private admissions counselor and have people, possibly government, pay me to help kids get into college. That is the goal.
I love it.
Love it. Thank you so much again. We've definitely appreciated having you on. I want to thank all of the listeners of our Cash Rules podcast. And other than that, I think this has been a great session. Fabyan, any last words?
No, Kimberly did what she was supposed to do. She rocked the house. I bet you she had a couple of new applications to college because of it. Thank you for giving a different side of the us. Like I said at the beginning, we've been hitting college hard like it ain't important. But we wanted to show the other side in terms of the importance. You came here, you educated myself and Keith. We thank you. I know our viewers thank you. But in that, thank you very much. Keith, how you doing?
Incredible. Thank you guys so much. This has been another episode of Cash Rules. We will see you next time. Peace.
And if it ain't about the money, don't beat me up.